Welcome to Part 4 of our lecture series on the Insight Spreadsheet Development Environment. In Part 1, we covered the basics of how spreadsheets work, mostly to solve mathematical problems using spreadsheet programming syntax. Part 2 introduced you to how to build on this foundation in order to build machine vision applications using the Insight Spreadsheet Development Environment. In Part 3, we covered several advanced features of the Insight Spreadsheet that extend the power and flexibility while also providing improved ease of use beyond what can be done in a conventional spreadsheet like Microsoft Excel. Now, Part 4 will introduce you to using the Cognex ViDi deep learning tools within the Insight Spreadsheet environment. Please note, however, details of how to actually configure and use the ViDi tools are covered in a separate training module. There are two ViDi tools in the Insight toolbox. Adding a ViDi tool to the Insight spreadsheet provides the user with access to the complete set of ViDi functions which can be used to find features, detect and classify defects, as well as read characters. For applications looking to just read characters, there is a ViDi Read tool that contains a pre-learned font library that works well for many applications. For applications that can't be solved using the pre-trained font library, you can still use the ViDi Read tool and train your own font library on your own image database. For OCR applications, the Insight Vision Suite software also provides an option to use a template spreadsheet pre-populated with the ViDi Read tool. This saves the user a little time when getting started. The way the ViDi tools integrate into the Insight environment is largely transparent to users. However, it's worth noting the mechanics because these two products stem from different origins. ViDi tools have some unique terminology, and they can be accessed from both the Insight environment as well as Cognex's Vision Pro PC software environment. ViDi tools can use their own internal fixture and region objects, or these parameters can be provided from the spreadsheet environment. At runtime, the acquired image, an optional fixture, and an optional region of interest are passed from the spreadsheet environment into the ViDi environment. From there, the ViDi environment will process the image according to how the ViDi tools were trained. Upon completion, the ViDi environment constructs one or more results or view structures which are passed back into the spreadsheet environment. The key takeaway from all this is that the ViDi tools can produce multiple and different types of result structures, so the method of accessing specific results data requires one additional step in the spreadsheet program compared to how we access data using other vision tools. Let's start by taking a closer look at the ViDi Read Tools property sheet and some of the more important getter functions. Just like all other vision tools, the first parameter in the property sheet is a reference to the image that will be used. The next parameter, external fixture, behaves a little differently than what we've seen previously for how fixtures are consumed by other tools in the toolbox. There are three important things to know about fixturing ViDi tools versus other vision tools. As mentioned on the previous slide, the ViDi tool suite has its own pattern finding tool called Locate, based on ViDi's deep learning paradigm. That means in order to use a ViDi Locate tool as a fixture, you must first train a neural network using a collection of images. For many applications, using a traditional pattern finding tool like the Find PatMax pattern tool we used in Part 2 of this lecture series can be a much simpler method of providing ViDi tools with the fixture input. So the term external fixture is used here and simply means we'll be providing fixture coordinates from the spreadsheet into the ViDi tool. The next key difference is that the external fixture parameter needs to reference a pattern structure directly instead of the individual x, y, and angle parameters. So in this case, we reference the external fixture parameter directly to cell A4, which contains the pattern structure returned by a Find Pattern tool, instead of cells C4, D4, and E4. The third key difference is that if the pattern structure contains more than one found pattern, the entire array of pattern locations will be passed into the ViDi tool. Like all other vision tools, the ViDi Read tool has a region parameter which defines the area within the image where the ViDi Read tool will attempt to read characters. It also has a parameter called feature size, which tells the ViDi Read tool the approximate size of the characters. You can simply move the feature size rectangle around one of the characters to define the height and width of a typical character. Once you're done setting it, you can move the feature size rectangle out of the way since the x and y parameters are not important to the ViDi Read tool. You can also rotate the rectangle if the characters are not aligned horizontally in the image. The other unique attribute of ViDi tools is that they use a supplemental editor for training the neural network. The spreadsheet environment is just not well suited to the methods used for training neural networks, so when you click on the Open ViDi Editor button, you can train your own font library. It's important to note here, if you go into the editor to train your own characters, you will delete the pre-trained font library for this instance of the ViDi Read tool. If you find the pre-trained font library works better, you can revert to the pre-trained library by deleting your ViDi Read tool and adding a new one into the spreadsheet. When you click the Open ViDi Editor button, the Insight Vision Suite software will create a new tab in the workspace which allows for a complete setup of the ViDi tools. The spreadsheet environment is still active, just on a separate tab. When using a ViDi Read tool, the editor is just used for training the neural network, and once the tool is trained, you can close the editor by clicking the X in the ViDi Read tab. Once back in the spreadsheet, the ViDi Read tool will behave just like other vision tools and update based on changes to its input parameters. Going back to the point we made earlier about how ViDi tools publish the results back into the spreadsheet, here we see in cell B7 the function called getViDiReadView, which references the ViDi Read tool in cell A7 as well as an index parameter, in this case a value of 0 in cell C7. This function returns a structure of type ViDiReadView. Then, over in cell E7, we see the getString function which returns the character string into the cell. When you add a ViDi Read tool into the spreadsheet, these getters will automatically be inserted into the spreadsheet provided there is sufficient space to the right of the ViDi Read cell. The ViDi tool has a very simple property sheet with just 4 basic parameters: the image, an external fixture, the region, and the graphics show parameter. But it also has something unique, an additional tab called Runtime. The contents of this tab will be blank when you first add the tool into the spreadsheet, but will later be populated with additional parameters that will be determined by the specific makeup of the ViDi processing you create in the ViDi editor. Once you open the editor, you will have access to the full suite of ViDi tools for creating what may amount to a full application where the spreadsheet simply serves as an environment for publishing the results data and for making additional decisions and/or communicating the results. Circling back to the slide where we covered how ViDi tools integrate into the spreadsheet, here again we see the significance of how results are published back into the spreadsheet. A single ViDi tool in the spreadsheet could be configured to use a locate, analyze, and classify tool which produce multiple types of results, each with multiple views as we see listed here. Since it's not known in advance what types of ViDi tools will be used, and because the number of results can be changed after the initial configuration, no default getter functions will be added into the spreadsheet when you initially close the ViDi tool property sheet. At this point, it's wise to make sure there are at least 10 or possibly more rows and columns below and to the right of the cell containing the ViDi tool, because a complex ViDi application may need dozens of getter functions to extract all of the data. To help facilitate this, you can right-click on the cell with the ViDi tool and choose the menu option Insert Getters from the pop-up menu. When you do this, the Insight spreadsheet software will query back to the ViDi environment and get a list of all the results and views that are available, and then populate cells in the columns to the right and below the ViDi tool. Here is an example of a complex application and all of the getters inserted into the spreadsheet. In many cases, it's possible that more getters will be populated than are actually needed, so you can either remove unused getter functions to clean up the spreadsheet, or you can leave them since there's not much overhead in terms of processing time to leave them in. In this lesson, we provided a brief overview of how ViDi tools integrate into the Insight spreadsheet environment. First, we learned there are 2 ViDi tools, ViDi and ViDi Read, and that the ViDi Read tool provides a pre-trained font library. But you can also train fonts using your own images. Second, we learned how to use the external fixture parameter to pass a fixture structure from the spreadsheet to a ViDi tool. Third, we learned how to access ViDi tool editors to train the neural networks used by ViDi tools. Fourth, we learned we need to use getViDiResult and getViDiView functions to get ViDi results data back into the spreadsheet. Fifth, we learned about the Add Getters menu option to auto-populate ViDi getter functions into the spreadsheet. And lastly, for more specific details of how to use ViDi tools, please attend a ViDi training class. Congratulations, you've now completed all 4 training modules. Thank you for watching.